Welcome to the Value Maker podcast. My name is Ryan Perist. I'm your host, supported by Heather Bicknell, as we meet with the people that make the digital workspace work. It's about the technology, it's about improving people's work experience and finding the return on value.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I watched the men's US gymnastics team get the bronze last night, and they were it's one of those like underdog stories, which I think are always the most satisfying Olympic stories. So that was
Ah,
exciting.
why are they an underdog?
They're just, I don't know how long it's been since the US men's has picked up a men's gymnastics medal. They're just not as, the field's really competitive, I think. So China and Japan were the favorites. And then it was I think the US, Great Britain, and Ukraine were in contention for the bronze, but they definitely weren't a shoe-in, and there were some, flub ups, I think, in the earlier rounds in terms of, like, mistakes in the US team, so they were kinda coming from behind to get things done, so and it's a team event. I feel like when you add all the scores together, it came down to there's an athlete on the team who is a specialist just on the pommel horse, so he was the last one to go. He had to wait 2 hours to do his one event, and the whole thing came down to whether or not he could pull off, his piece. Basically, if he'd messed up, they wouldn't have gotten the bronze, so he delivered. So it's a very satisfying Olympic moment. I love the Olympic. That's how I'm feeling this morning. How are you?
Yeah, that's great. No, it's good. I mean, I haven't watched that much. I watched so we have the Sevens rugby teams, the Blitzbokke played on the weekend. They didn't win the gold, but they won bronze, which is what they've done before. And to be honest, they haven't played very well for a long time. So that they actually got a bronze was kind of a pleasant surprise. I mean, obviously they worked hard and they deserve what they get. But I'm finding it very interesting because we don't have, so in the UK, typically if there's an international sport on, the TV rights are such that we can watch it on normal free TV, like BBC or ITV or something like that. But the Olympics, when found this out through the process, when Japan finished, Discovery Plus signed the licensing rights for all the TV rights for the Olympics. So if you want to watch all the channels and all the events, you have to sign up for Discovery here. And I don't mind there being a streaming service, and it's not expensive. It's like £4 or whatever it is. So it's a couple of dollars to do it. But in the middle of the game against France, the streaming died, and you can't watch anything. You can't watch it on any channel. So I just feel like if you're going to be playing in this game, you've got to be really good. You can't have that kind of thing happening. And what I find more interesting is there seems to be no recognition or apology that they have had streaming issues. And
Mhm.
I find it's interesting, like in South Africa, you watch on a satellite sort of service. I'm sure it's the same in the States, where it's a TV with a bunch of channels and you just choose, or you got a decoder and it's a bunch of channels and you just choose. And when you're watching sports, where there's lots of sports going on, like the Olympics, and you want to switch between channels, on the streaming app experience, I find it quite difficult because it's almost like a YouTube experience, which is not the same intuitive experience. I don't know. For me, it's weird. And maybe it's the way they designed the app for Discovery, but like I was trying to find the rugby, which started in Hoppers 2. It took me 10 minutes to find the game. Now, if you bear in mind that the half is 7 minutes, you've already missed the game. So in the time it took me to find the show, you could miss the whole half because it's only 7 minutes a half. I just think like from that experience, I almost miss the old days of having, a satellite thing where there's 200 channels and you just click up, click down, and you might miss some stuff because now you have to wait. You have to watch whatever they produce for you versus this where you could watch everything and restart. You can watch anything at any time because you can restart, you can play again, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a trade-off, I guess, but it's actually made it more difficult to watch the Olympics by being streaming because you got to like install the apps on all the TVs and then you got to sign in on all the apps. And like I was going to try and watch it now behind me while I was in the meeting, and it took me again 10 minutes to set it all up. Where if it's on satellite, you just press and you go. So I think there's,
Mhm.
and there's no like. I was just thinking about from a usability point of view, there is no sort of preempting this Like there's no, like in order to find out to watch the Olympics, I had to like go and Google it and then find an article that explained it. Just, it's silly to think that with all the ways you can communicate with people, there's no simple, like, here are the instructions to watch the Olympics this year.
Yeah, it does feel quite complicated. I guess we don't have cable, so I assume it's on cable in the US. I don't really know, but yeah, we had to download an app, and then we have to DVR. We have to make sure to record them. Otherwise, it's not just they won't just have all of the events available to watch, and then it is also similar, like, scroll through the featured, tiles of Olympic sports to find the one
Oh,
you wanna watch.
you
Yeah,
probably watch it on the same service, and it's probably the
it might be.
Eurosport feed. Yeah. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, it's the way we all live. We live in the app world. If it's not an app, we don't want to do it. Too complicated then. And we become very, I mean, I know, I'm guilty of it too, where you almost won't do something if it's a website. It's got to be an app, or
Mm.
it's got to have a rich experience in the app,
Isn't it
because
funny
there's,
how, like, a browser on your phone is so different than an app?
yeah, it isn't, it
Mhm.
isn't, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
it grates me when you go and you're on a website and the website's not mobile friendly. And I mean, Microsoft is point in case of this. So if you want to go and do something in Azure, now Azure, I mean, there is an Azure app or a M365 app to go and to go and manage some stuff. And it's pretty, I mean, it comes on leaps and bounds. So don't get me wrong. It's not a terrible app, but there's always one thing that you need to do that's not on the app. And you have to go to the web page experience, and their web page experience is not mobile friendly. So you spend quite a lot of time navigating across the pages in order to do stuff. And it just irritates me. And if I was trying to do one of my favorite irritations is they will invoice you for something. So you'll need to go and check the invoice, but the invoice experience doesn't load on your mobile. And I guess they would probably assume that most of the people that are paying invoices are sitting behind a desk. But I actually think a lot of people that are checking invoices are people like me who are on the move, and they got this email. They go, "Oh, I haven't paid this invoice," and they go check my invoice. And we're expecting it to open up in the Azure app, and it doesn't. And then, because you have multiple subscriptions and multiple different tenants, all that kind of stuff, the web interface gets confused to which one to show you, and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's that sort of complicated world we live in where context is so important, and so many get it wrong. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe there's a PM from Microsoft who's listening in who can well,
well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like they're the only ones who have this problem. I think anyone who's run product knows there's so many things you want to fix, and there's so many things that you need to trade off, which is kind of, I mean, it probably leads us into me showing you a little bit about value. So, and we've cut it down in this view today because one of the things I'm realizing that I'm building it for multiple to make that, don't want that to be shown. So the value started out solving I was doing ISO 27K audits, and I was getting hell of a frustrated with them. And there were lots of tools out there, but all the tools to me just felt complicated. Oh, that's interesting. So when I logged in, I already had vision and scenarios allocated to me, but Ranjit's probably just given me the rest of them. So now they've disappeared, which is interesting. So we're building on a low-code, no-code platform, which means we fix things in production all the time, which is great, but it's also disconcerting because it's fixed so quickly. But
you're doing a demo, which means like something's going to be different than what you were expecting. That's just
oh yeah,
the role of the demo.
The demo gods, the demo demons.
Mhm.
So, I mean, let me start with a couple things. I mean, I was telling you, like I said, I was doing ISO audits, and then I was also doing quite a lot of project benefit realization analysis. So why have you done this project? What was the business case? Does the business case tie up? Are you seeing those benefits? And usually not so much to validate that the project was working for the customer for their own internal process, but very much from a vendor selling something to a customer. So your typical SaaS solution that's been sold and it's getting to renewal time, and the customer's going, I don't see any value. And the vendor's saying, well, we really want you to sign up and pay again. So I was basically bridging that gap saying, well, you're spending $10,000, $100,000, $1 million on the software. Here's how you get the money back in return on value. And I use the return on value phrase because it's not return on investment, because return on investment to me means tangible money back every single time. But return on value could be a little bit more intangible. So it could be a risk mitigation, which, when the risk actually occurs and becomes an incident, then it becomes tangible, but you're trying to avoid that risk. A cost save could be tangible. You could save money on licenses you didn't need to use, or hardware you didn't need to buy, or improved end user experience for employees that are working. Those could have bottom line impact, but to measure them might be difficult. So you might make your staff 50% more productive, and that might mean you should make more revenue for your business and have less cost. But how do you actually work that out across all the variables involved? So return on value is kind of different perspectives, as I like to say. So risk mitigation is one, cost savings is another, productivity increases is another. Adoption of software has a return on value. You spend a lot of money on the software. Do people actually use it? One of my old examples was around CRM with one of the businesses where 6% of the business used the CRM. But this was a sales business. So if you're a sales business, you'd expect it to be 94% use the CRM, but it was just done badly. And anyway, so point of the product is it started off as solving a couple of problems, and then it became a big calculator. How do I calculate return on value? But when I was doing the sort of calculations and running these things through in pilots, it became very clear we needed to have a work management piece to it as well. So you can go and estimate the cost and the work that's going to be done in the upside as a calculator. But how do you actually make it happen? So you need to have the work thing. So what we came up with is a workspace, which is your container for your project. Inside your container, you'll have your vision, your scenarios, your assurance. If we just focus on those main things now, and there's one other piece that's not on the screen, which I'll have to talk to Ranjit about, which is sequencing. But anyway, so the idea behind a workspace is that you can have as many workspaces as you like. And workspaces basically are tree structures. They can go underneath each other. And the idea behind that is that you can have a workspace that belongs to another workspace that can inherit properties from the parent. So if you're doing security kind of stuff, like who has access to this workspace, anyone who has access to the parent workspace can have access to all the children workspaces. So if you put somebody on the bottom of the workspace list, they can't see above them. So that's the one thing. The other thing is
Sorry, Ryan, I'm still seeing home. Should I be seeing workspaces?
No, this is
Oh,
all the
I
same.
should be seeing home.
All the
Okay.
same.
Sorry.
I haven't
Just
changed
want to make
anything.
sure you're.
So if I click on the screen here, you'll only see one workspace for me at the moment because I haven't, but I'll click on workspaces. So inside workspaces, you see here, we've got a whole bunch of workspaces and we've got some ones with children, which I don't think any of these have children. There's one child there. So you can have children and they inherit from each other. You see these guys are playing around, and inside each workspace, it has the same construct of vision, which is our OKRs and tasks. Desk is our ticket analysis tool. Scenarios is our reusable templates. And then Assure is our risk product or governance product. So, tracking, it's basically a big tracker of everything. So we track requirements, we track evidence, we track support tickets, dependencies, issues, assumptions, questions you're asking in your project. And the reason why I have this in one place is that often when I'm in a project, you're sitting in a meeting and someone says, "Oh, what's happening with this thing? And what are we going to do about, we're doing a fintech thing today. So what about PCI compliance?" Well, that's a question. What is our response to PCI compliance? So we go write the question in. And then you can rate and rank the risk so that when we actually do a calculation, we can see the risk profile of the project. And this comes back onto the homepage. So if you treat each workspace as a project or a client or initiative or whatever you want to call it, you've got this thing. And so there's my grid. And then you have your objectives, which are, what am I trying to achieve? Your key results are your milestones. And I'll go into vision for that now. And then your task, the actual accountable things. And I kind of work it on that an objective should be 90 days down to 30 days. Key results or milestones should be 1 week to 4 weeks in duration. And then a task is 1 day up to 5 days in size. So you can have a list of key results, and inside the key results, you can have a list of tasks. You can see here the guys have put some tasks in, and then you can have accountability. You can assign them to people, whoever it may be. Jack Sparrow is always one of my favorites. You can give it your status, where you are from a planning point of view, or in progress, or whatever it is. So typical task management work. Now, this is kind of important in the sense of we need to have the effort associated to getting to the return on value. I mean, we've put in the usual things like, can I have a Kanban where I can drag stuff around and reorganize things. So we're not providing the flexibility you might get in something like Notion, where I can go create my entire project structure and I can change it as much as I want. We are dictating to some extent how you use the tool. But it's important to do that because one of the key things we do is we have this prioritization grid called the quadrant. And when I used to do these as part of my analysis and I used to do a PowerPoint presentation, I used to use 4 blocks. Now I've improved on it and I've made it 6 blocks. And the idea behind this is that you're looking at the 0 to 6 month period, top left corner, highest value work. This is what this is telling me. Top left hand corner is things I need to do to get the most amount of value. Bottom right hand corner are things that are not high value and that too complicated to do. And we have a rating system to how we work this all out. So you're basically going to spend your time here and your time here. And then through your cycle of working, you're constantly going to be reevaluating everything and you'll keep shifting that measurement, and stuff that's probably medium or strategic will slowly shift across. And part of the consulting that we do is to say, okay, you've got this item that is, and we're doing a demo now. So some of the stuff has changed. Like, for example, he's changed this whole interface. We didn't used to have a list that was grouped, and now he's made it grouped. So see, it says 19, but I could drag, I used to be able to drag these across. Looks like this, I can't drag. There's a bug. I'll have to bring that, but I can drag the whole 19 across. No, I don't know. That's the bug. Okay. We'll pick that up with Bridget. Demo demons. Here we go. So anyway, so you've got your items here. So let's say I've got something that's strategic. I could break down that strategic thing into key results, and I could separate the key result and drag them across into which blocks they're in. So you might it might be a very complicated thing to do. Let's say it's some very complicated integration work you need to do. And you can start deconstructing that complicated thing into simple things to do. And you can start dragging those across into the left-hand side. So you can now start chipping away at that strategic objective to achieve it by organizing things in order. And the sequencing part, which I don't have here to show you, is actually, if you had to put your objectives in order, and let's say you've got 10 objectives, and I know that if I do objective 1, 5, 7, and 9 in order, then I'll achieve the critical path of the goal. And that becomes a roadmap. So we'd save a roadmap. And then, as a part of these objectives, we're calculating a return on value. So there'll be so here's the quadrant that we select where it fits. And then we have the ability to add a measure. Oh yeah. What's going on here? Definitely some quirky stuff going on, but you basically create a measure that we use to calculate a formula. I will say, like, and if you think about your Lakeside software days, ticket avoidance. So if you use the data from Systrack, it tells you that you're running out of disk space on all your devices. So you get the alert or the sensor that says 80% capacity reached on 500 desktops. Now those 500 desktops could go and log a ticket each. And let's just say, for easy math, that the cost of a ticket is $50. You're looking at $25,000 of cost for doing that ticket. But because you've got the data, you can proactively go and resolve that issue. Now, I'll explain that in the context of our scenarios. So what we do with scenarios is we preempt what a problem is and what the solution is. And think of these as templates. So I don't know if we've got a disk space one here. We'll just create a disk space one. So out of disk space. So this is our problem. The device is running out of disk space. Now, why is that a problem? Well, if you're out of disk space, the user cannot run applications. The user cannot store updates. The user cannot work.
I've run into this issue before.
We all have.
Lost your machine. Can't do anything.
So if we look at it from a user impact point of view, that's high. Technical complexity is actually quite low to fix this issue. You can write a script quite easily. In fact, ChatGPT can write a script for you nowadays. It's quite easy. So organizational needs quite high as well. Now, organizational need is normally driven by regulatory requirement, but I also, in these sort of cases, if an employee can't work, well, that's a big problem for the org. Because if the person can't work, then we can't get productivity out of it. So we can choose an objective that is related. So I don't know, I'll just pick a random one for now. And we don't have any key results for that yet. So and then we'll pick this as end user experience. And then we can add some reasoning that we've put in here. So performance requirement, but pick one more. There's one. Stability requirement. Okay. So just look at some of that. And it's going to be across all our endpoints. And then what we can do here is we can go and add some tasks. So create script to automatically clean Windows folders, i.e. recycle bin, temp, update folder, deploy script to pilot group, and I don't know, correlate current ticket log, keep tickets logged to telemetry from them tool, whichever one you use. Could be Lakeside, could be Control App, could be Nextlink, whatever. Now, this is where what we do with value becomes different to what everyone else does. We can put a measure in. So we can say number of tickets is our measure, or we can add, and we can put in multiple of them. So we can say number of tickets. We can put in, create a new one, which I can't see a way to do that right now. So we'll do it later. And then you can write a value proposition. We want the user to be highly productive. So stuff that we will do in future versions is we'll have a ChatGPT prompt that'll spit out the value proposition, for example. But I quite like to write the bullet points, and then I just replace it with a generated ChatGPT. If we're going to do some ticket analysis, we'll put some keywords in, disk space. We'll include that. We'll include SSD, and we'll include Windows, and we'll include Microsoft, and we'll exclude Mac OS. Just because we're writing a script that only works on that. So that gives us a scenario. So that's a template that we can use. And then the idea is that when you go and say process the tickets, we'll go match the tickets to that scenario. So we'll get a count. I'm not going to do that with you now, but that's what we would do. Or we would go take the data from Systrack and say, or Control Up, whatever, and say, give me the number of devices that are triggering on this alarm, which would say how many devices have reached 80% capacity. And part of the plan, which I didn't put in that scenario, but we might have another one, is to proactively go and address that issue. So you can go avoid those tickets. So we talked about $25,000 worth of tickets. We might go here to our vision and go and plan, and I'll just go and I'll go use this one here. Just call this out of disk space, proactive resolution. Select U3. So let's say 500 users impacted and $50 per ticket. Now, with our calculation, we'd be working this stuff out, but I'm just putting in the description so I remember the example later. But you can go and put in here, you're going to have a key result, which is to analyze the number of tickets. And you can have another analyst analyze. And then you're going to have automate resolution, disk space issues. Now inside of here, we can put dates and timelines and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to add some tasks here. And they might have 3 choices. Choice number 1 is script to auto team. And we can go and add our scenario to this. The other one we can do is, where's my second task on? There we go, is to order a larger hard disk. and let's say it's a 2x option. Now this could be automated as well, or this could be analysis, but the point is we're putting some tasks in to go and do this work. And the other thing, which is always relevant, is provide KB knowledge base article to educate user to use cloud storage or network storage or whatever. So, OneDrive or Dropbox. And that would be like a KB article saying, you don't have to keep it all on your disk. You can just set it to be only the important stuff stays on your disk. So those are sort of three options that you could do. Now, each one of these, we would go and put some measures to say, if we go and do a script to auto clean, the cost to do that might be $1,000 of effort. So let's say it's at $50 an hour, it's 20 hours of effort to go write the script. But now you're going to offset that against your savings. So we said $25,000 versus my $1,000 cost. So my save just on that 500 tickets is 25 times. But that was only and if those tickets were for 1 month, you'd multiply by 12 to get a yearly saving. So it becomes even bigger. So 12 times 25 is 60,000. No, 600,000 probably sounds about right. 25 by 12. No, it's 300,000. So 300,000 divided by 1,000, it's a 3,000 extra term for doing that script. So you've avoided that number of tickets. My math might be wrong, so don't worry. That's fine. That's fine in the system. Now, if ordering a larger hard disk, let's say that cost $150 to do that. So it would be $100 for the new hard drive and $50 to replace it. So you'd go and take the cost of replacing the hard drive 500 times, for argument's sake, and then work that out against the ticket avoidance issue. But that doesn't necessarily mean you solve the problem. That means you might have kicked the can down the road. So it's really the combination of the first two and the third one that'll solve this problem. So we'd have three scenarios potentially to solve this, because the third one is to educate the user to say, stop storing so much stuff on your hard drive. If we give you a terabyte and you use up a whole terabyte, there's something wrong. If I remember my UBS days or JP Morgan days, we had guys with profiles of 21 gigs, which is the same size as the operating system. That's just too much storage. Like, what are you trying to store? And it's people will store movies and they'll store all sorts of strange stuff. So, but that's the education piece. You've got to have the three. So the idea is you would have these three different scenarios, and I've done them as tasks, but you'd have them in three different scenarios, which would have a return on value calculation with them. And the combined value, the upside versus the cost of doing them, would be how you calculate your return on value. And then we build a business case of it. So we started building the business case builder, which was in here. And this is not built yet, but it's coming. So this is very much, in the background of what's going on. But the idea here is that every scenario we would put in the metrics to build your business case, and then we'd have an actual versus budget. So you estimated to save 500 tickets per month, which is 6,000 times 5 is 6,000. Yep, 6,000 tickets a year that you'd avoid. It's $50 a ticket, which is 300,000. That sounds right. Geez, my maths is all over the place. But the idea is you'd build a business case, and then you'd use your objectives and your key results to work against that business case. Because this is often what I get involved in with the customers, that they've got these problems, but they don't know where to start. They don't know the order to solve them. And then they need a way to track it, because that's the other point. So the original tagline for Valuu Workspace was plan, track, and deliver. I might change it to plan, track, and execute. But the premise is still the same, is that when you come back to these blocks and you look at them, you know what your quick wins will give you. That's in top left-hand corner. You know what your business as usual will be. It's the bottom left corner. So lower value, but easy to do still. So that is the stuff you want to tick off every day. And then your strategic stuff that's in the top there, you want to know what that is, and then your parking lot. Then the last piece that we're adding at the moment is widgets. So you can have a widget, you can put measures on here, and we can track the widgets over time. So we're benchmarking every day. So when you go and run these things, and then this is a lot of the work that I do at the moment, is we do the ticket analysis and we benchmark the tickets that we've received against the scenarios, we capture them, and then we do another dump and import, let's say a month later. We can see how that's changed and measure the difference between your automations versus your do interventions versus doing nothing.
Mhm.
So if we go and so I analyzed like 250,000 tickets the other day. If you just left it alone, that ticket will grow. That ticket number will grow because users will log more tickets. But if you can mitigate the ticket, and that $55 comes from Forrester as a number, and things that problems with ticket avoidance, well, things that make tickets more is a user will log more tickets if they're not getting any resolution. So duplication is a big problem. But actually, a bigger problem is that users don't log any tickets. They don't tell you about the problem.
Yep.
What they do rather than is tell their boss about the problem, and then it escalates as a political thing. And in either case, what you're trying to do out of this is to find a way to give your people the most productive environment to work in. And that's what I think we'll get out of using this tool. As I said, it's in a 50-50 state at the moment on a few things, but we're getting there, and we're getting nice in the pilots that we're running. We're getting good feedback on how to improve the product to solve these problems, which is quite exciting.
It's looking very good. There's a lot of functionality. I am impressed. Are you mostly still seeing it on the vendor consulting side? Do you have a vision of it being used on the kind of internal team side, or are you starting to see that as well?
I see a bit of both, and
Mhm.
so if I look at who I'm talking to at the moment, it is both. So I've got some sort of ISV types that are doing some work, and then I've got no ISV, sorry, system integrators, and then I'm actually talking to a couple of businesses that I used to work for that are seeing value for it for what they do as running projects internally and with their customers. So it's kind of it's similar and the same in some respects, because in both cases it's about running projects, and a project can be internal only or it can be internal and external.
Mhm.
The difference is one of them I'd probably treat as a partner, and one of them I treat as a customer. And my ideal is the one that as a partner has got 1,400 customers. And the key thing about how we are different, besides the way we're looking at return on value, is we're also not charging per user. We're charging per workspace. So I don't want to constrain somebody to, and it happens with, you see with certain tools, like Notion's a good example. I love Notion, but with a team of 40 people, that bill gets big very quickly. We're doing it on case of, I don't care how many users you have. I just want you to use the workspaces and pay for the workspaces. So you could have as much, get 40 people in one workspace. That's fine to me. Because that's a collaborative environment that I want. I want to incentivize collaboration. And then what'll happen is anybody who signs up and they don't already exist on our system, they'll get a workspace for themselves. So a free one for 1 to 3 users, I say 0 to 3 users, but 1 to 3 users gets a workspace for free. So I'm following that model where we want to keep people collaborative and we want people using it and sharing information in a single place. Because one thing that I have noticed with this is that people that are in organizations where it's difficult to share their internal tooling with a vendor, they need a trusted place to put stuff.
Mm.
This is where we fit. So we can have a workspace per customer, with a customer with a vendor, and they can say, okay, fine, we'll use this workspace to do this stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I know we're over our usual time, so but it was really good and nice to see the product. Thank you for walking me through it.
No
Uh,
problem.
excited to see it continue to evolve, and yeah, we can chat about it more
Uh,
in the next one.
and yeah, I mean, and people are welcome to sign up to it. It's on value.work, valuu.work. They can sign up for free and give it a go. As I say, we're still in the early beta. So there's a couple of things that are still being polished up, but we're using it as an internal tool, which is one of my rules with anything, is you use your own tools before you sell them to other people.
Gotta drink your own champagne. You
That's
gotta
it.
do it.
That's it. Exactly. Super. Alrighty. Well, thanks, Heather. It was good to chat, and we'll chat later.
Sounds good. Good talking. Till next
Cheers,
time.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends and colleagues. Help us grow our network. Please also check out our website at www.value.work and our product that's on there. It's something we worked really hard on, and we hope that it benefits you.